So I want to show you guys some proof that MSRP means absolutely nothing, and everybody who talks about MSRP and says any store charging above MSRP is an evil scalper and they're just an evil person. They don't know what they're talking about, and every time I hear somebody talk about MSRP and cry about it, I just laugh because there is a set from this era that proves the exact point that people don't care about MSRP. They only care about it when it applies to a really high demand, really expensive set. Because other than that, there is a set, from this era that's pretty recent, Shrouded Fable, that is at basically MSRP. I know you can buy it at MSRP because there's many LCSs near me that are selling them for MSRP and they don't move. Why? Because it's not that great of a set, it's not that high in demand, and it's not that expensive of a set. It's a funny thing. It seems like value and money in the space. It seemed to be an evil thing by some people, but it's part of collectibles. Like I feel like some people just can't accept the fact that collectibles, especially nowadays, yeah, it has changed from what it was 10 years ago, sure, but that's just part of it. Value and collectibles, they go hand in hand. If you dislike it and you think it's evil, well, it sucks because that's literally how things are. That's how this whole space is. It has changed. It's trash, but that's how it is, right? You can cry about it. You can say that, oh, it's evil. All people care about is money and how expensive things are. It is what it is, right? But I mean, this is just a perfect example of like, okay, if you really don't care about value and you just want some Pokemon cards and you're mad that everything, all the new hyped up stuff is expensive, then why are you not buying Shrouded Fable, right? Why don't you buy this? Because it's pretty available at MSRP. Like I said, there's many stores near me that have Shrouded Fable at MSRP, but nobody wants it. Why? Because it's not a popular set. So if you want a popular set and you want what's in demand, you want what everyone else wants, right? You're going to need to pay the market price and what people are willing to pay because you're competing with all these other people in the market that are buyers that are willing to pay this amount. And if you're not, then you can't buy it. And if it is over MSRP, and that's where your ceiling is at, well, you're limited to stuff like this that isn't very wanted, like Shrouded Fable. And just to even prove that MSRP and prices really don't matter, it's really about demand, look at the sales volume for this ETB. Right now, market price is at $55. So what? $5 over MSRP, right? Like barely anything. Look at the sales volume and how atrocious it is. 6 boxes, 8 boxes, 6 boxes, 4 boxes, 5 boxes, 1 box, 5 box. Nobody wants this. There's super low sales volume for this product, even though it's MSRP. It's what everybody wants, right? But no, it's not a popular set. Nobody wants it. Therefore, you can still find it at MSRP, even in this world of scalpers. Nobody cares about Shrouded Fable. And you can see part of the reason why this is so cheap is because look at the cards. The set isn't very good, right? Total set value, not very high compared to the other specialty sets in this era. And look at the artwork. I mean, there's a few nice ones in here. The Persian's pretty cool. The Cassiopeia is pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, there's a couple of decent ones, but like, there's nothing in here that's that great. And that's why we're seeing the set being this cheap. Sealed product, still very available, and the set isn't that expensive. So just goes to show prices don't really mean much. It's really about demand, and when people get mad that something's above MSRP, why don't you go buy some Shrouded Fable because it's right there for you. Now, moving on to other specialty sets that are above MSRP, and everyone's charging above MSRP. Evil people charging double MSRP, all scalpers, and they're just, they just want to steal your money. Okay, Prismatic Evolutions. Recently, we even got that reprint. Did absolutely nothing to the price. This is selling for above double MSRP. Almost, at this point, basically almost triple MSRP, right? And look at the sales volume compared to Shrouded Fable. MSRP does not mean a single thing. Like, just look at this. It's about the set. It's about the demand. It's about what's inside of the set. The MSRP talk is so irrelevant because if this many people are willing to buy Prismatic this much over MSRP, but for Shrouded Fable, only a few people are willing to buy that ETB at MSRP, goes to show something, right? It's about the set. People just want MSRP for high demand sets. It's a crazy thing that people still argue about MSRP, and it's honestly kind of annoying to talk about, but I just had to make this video and prove the point in a very good example of a set that is at MSRP, but nobody wants it, which is why it's still there. This whole market is about supply and demand. That's like any market, and people can't come to that, I guess, realization or acceptance that that's how the market works. Like people want this like controlled market, like a government, controlling all these prices and stuff. Where this store they shouldn't be able to charge as much. Like the world's not perfect. The world is not all rainbows and unicorns. This is how the market works. And if you don't like it, then I guess it sucks, right? But I mean, if you want the high demand stuff, if you want what everyone else wants, because I mean, it's the good stuff, right? You're gonna have to pay up for these prices above MSRP, right? I think MSRP really should get thrown out the window in terms of just people's like mindset. I've talked about it before. People don't know the reason why it's a suggested price is because these companies legally are not allowed to force companies in these stores to sell at an exact price. They're not allowed to. That's why it's suggested. You can search it up. It's a law. It's a real thing. That's why these stores can charge these prices. So you can get mad all you want, but it's literally a law that these companies can't force these stores to charge that amount. So you can look it up. That's why it's a suggested price. And yeah, it means really nothing. Now, look at the price of Prismatic and the total set value. It's obvious why it's expensive. It makes sense. Does it make sense for an ETB to be $50 and you can pull a car that's $1,400? You can pull God packs worth thousands and thousands of dollars. It does not, right? So you gotta kind of be reasonable, with the prices of things and how much value you can extract from them. It would make no sense in a market that you could be able to pull these cards, lots of cards in the hundreds of dollars when packs are like $4 or $5. That wouldn't make any sense, right? Next, Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is above MSRP, still hasn't gotten an ETB reprint. It's about double MSRP at this point. And you can see, or actually I'll go back to the sales volume because I didn't check that. Sales volume still, it's around the same, you could say, as Shrouded. I know the chart here looks a little bit different, but look at the sales volume, 5 to like 10 boxes a day. Not crazy, but still selling about as much or a little bit more than Shrouded Fable, and yet it's still double or a little bit more than MSRP. And look at the total set value. Here's why. People want this set. $1,400 set value, a double of Shrouded Fable, and look at the cards you can pull. The Bowmew, everybody wants it. The Charizard's pretty cool. Gardevoir's pretty cool. This is a sought after set with good cards. It's going to be expensive. Just accept the fact that these high demand sets that people want with card values in them, it's going to correlate with the sealed prices and why they're above MSRP. And lastly here, 151. I feel like 151 has aged to the point where people don't care about MSRP. I don't know what exact science there is. There has to be some sort of study done. There's like a certain point where people stop caring about MSRP. I don't know if it's like a year. I don't know if it's 2 years when things go out of print. But it seems like 151 is sort of at that price point, or it's sort of at that age where the price it's at doesn't get complained about. Like people complain about Prismatic, right, being too expensive. These stores charging, market at 140 being scalpers. Well, then you look at 151, and I don't really think there's people out there complaining. If they go to a store and they see that 151 ETBs are like $200, you don't really see people complaining about that. But for some reason, it's because Prismatic is the newest set that everybody wants, that people complain about it. It's a weird thing. I don't know where that time frame is where people stop complaining, but 151 seems to sort of be there where people don't really complain about stores charging over MSRP. Now, look at the set value. You can see it is still pretty high relative to other sets. If you look at Prismatic, Prismatic looks like a deal, right? The ETBs, the total set value being almost $8,000, ETBs being around 140. And you look at 151, the ETBs $200+ dollars, total set value is $1,200. I talked about it before. That's why Prismatic Evolutions is a generational set. And on this ETB reprint, I've talked about it before. If you don't have any, you can find some maybe if you can possibly find them for 120, 110. This is a great opportunity for Prismatic because just look at 151 and where prices have gone for ETBs, and the total set value is still like 5 times less, or even more than that, like around 6 times less than Prismatic Evolutions. That's how crazy that set is, and it's going to be hard for people to come to an understanding and acceptance that even though it is above MSRP for Prismatic Evolutions, you look at 151, Prismatic Evolutions in a couple years from now is going to look like a deal, and you'll be mad that you got upset with MSRP and that you didn't buy at the time, because when you look at the prices a couple years later, you're going to be like, wow, I complained about MSRP when in reality It didn't matter because eventually, at some point, pretty much every single Pokemon product goes above MSRP. All you're whining about is the time frames, and when you really take that out of the I guess equation, you can do a lot better for yourself without putting those barriers and mental limitations in place by saying I don't want to buy over MSRP because I want to boycott all this stuff. I'm telling you, I've learned that. I bought pretty much every single Prismatic Evolutions product I have above MSRP, and I've done pretty well, buying all the stuff and not complaining about MSRP. So just some evidence and a lesson learned that MSRP means absolutely nothing. It's about demand, obviously supply and demand, and if you're buying the high demand stuff, it's probably going to be over MSRP in this Pokemon market. That's just how things work. So just want to show you guys this. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.